introduction, Matteo.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here. We are here for the ones that are not of the project to discuss about a public tender, public procurement procedure that is taking place, starts now, and it will be moving on, going to a real tender in September, by mostly the end of September. The project is called Clamaboro. I'll do a short introduction of the project just to explain you somewhere where we are. And then there will be Luke and Diego discussing about the challenge and what Differdange wants to work on. And then later on, the colleague Francesco Molinari will explain also the procurement mechanism. That is one of the points that are more important, I guess, for you to understand. Luke, I'm sharing my screen, then I'll shut your presentation down, okay?
Okay.
Okay. I have just to understand. Where is my presentation? Here we go.
Okay, so now
do you see the presentation?
Yeah. I think so, yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So I just need to make you a little bit smaller now. Like this? Yeah. Okay, perfect.
All good?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just put it on screen. Hello. Then, now, Clamaboro. First, I'm here talking in name of Anci Toscana. Do you hear me? Is it fine?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Now, the project is called Clamaboro, and that's one of the projects that are funded within the mission Climate Neutral and Smart Cities. As you may know, this mission is somehow divided in two. You see on the right of my slide, the first part, the cities that were selected, 100 European Union plus 12 in associated countries. One of them, by the way, is Differdange, and that get support to create cities contracts and to improve or improve more their strategy to get to climate neutrality by 2050, let's say between 2030 and 50. The other side is about projects that are funded. They don't include just cities of the mission, but also others. And in our case, they are in number of fields. In our case, it's about urban planning and design. And we get a funding of 11 million euros. That is almost the totality of the cost, because we have a small part that will be given by some partners as co-funding. Now, to explain you a bit the consortium, it's coordinated by the Association of Cities that are represented, that is Anci Toscana, the Association of Cities of Tuscany in Italy, representing almost 300 municipalities. Now, in the consortium, we have 28 partners, including Anci, and 14 of them are cities. This is one of the most innovative part of this project. These projects normally in Horizon do not have such number of cities. As you see in the slide above, you see our, let's call it R&D part. We see our specialists in climate neutrality, urban planning, design, in some cases also videos, because NTNU is here for doing videos, and some of about exploitation or market approach, Links Foundation. And then we have like a number of partners that are IT compliant. One of them is probably changing, these days. And then we have some city specialists, in particular Torino Urban Lab and Energy Cities, that are highly experienced in cities, in cities work. Also because one is an association of cities and the other one is the agency of a city. And then we have Isavad, that is a small agency that is very experienced on market and exploitation. And then we have our cities that I'll show you here a bit better. We have 14 cities on board. As I said, 8 of them are leaders, and Differdange is one of them. What does this mean? It means that these cities will be working on pilots at once. They will lead the cities. And then we have the followers, and in which we can also include the observers if we want. Those 6 cities, 4 of them will be replicating what leaders will be doing in this period. Then everything we say is somehow the beginning, and then the followers will redo this later on in the project. As you see, we have a large type of cities from both a country point of view, also dimension, characteristics. It's really rich panorama, landscape of cities. Now, about the project, a few words about the project, why we do it. It's because, as we all know, I guess, today, the greenhouse gases are mostly in cities, and those cities represent a small piece of land. And we expect cities to grow even more. And then for us, the city is a solution. More than a problem, as we normally say, it's a solution. In the sense that we want cities to solve their problem, and once of that, we will have done a lot of the job to be done. But in this, cities as administrations are not alone, and we need to include citizens, and I would say also other stakeholders, all stakeholders are needed. The idea for us to solve it and in the cities is also to work on what we call a circular technology principle or approach. This is to make sure, let's say, that we approach more the market and the cities, saying we have the cities that have a number of issues, problems, and challenges to solve in a few years. It's a big challenge in itself. Then to reach the climate neutrality. Then how to do so? Approaching cities and companies, whatever they are, easier for startups, for SMEs, would give a big help in finding solutions. We have a lot of technology that is out there and we cannot use it. Then the biggest problem today is not technological, is in application and use of technology. Then, as we are in urban planning, the biggest idea here, we make it a bit, you have Mafalda looking at this old way of doing urban planning, and she's confused. And then while using digital technologies can support in improving her life and in killing some of the silos that are around and that don't really help in this transition. Now, this is another part that is very important. I was mentioning citizens, and while we talk about citizens, we need to talk about behavioral change. How does urban planning, behavioral change, and climate neutrality can be related to each other? That's very important. That's something that we somehow imagine, but we don't know concretely. And this project is supposed to help in creating this link or in understanding better this link. Now, about the structure of the project, and this is something that is very important also today, is that we divided the project, let's say, in the cities into big groups that then interact between each other. They are supported by those 2 specialists that I mentioned earlier, that were Energy Cities and Torino Urban Lab, making sure that the cities are well connected to the project and well connected between each other. The exchange of good practices between cities is key to get results. Now, how did we divide them? In the easiest possible way, by theme. Then on one side, we have energy and mobility, and Differdange is there. And on the other one, we have waste and circularity. What is interesting is that leader cities in one of those 2 hubs can become followers in the other one. Obviously, if the real, I mean, the followers that I mentioned earlier will drop, they can do so. That means where you're stronger, you lead. But if you feel that you can improve on the other side, we can try to give a hand later on. And finally, I give you somehow the view of the project from a city point of view. Cities in this first 6-7 months, because we start in early, 1st of January this year, starting defining their challenges, the challenge that now Luke and Diego will start introducing. And somehow we are now at the beginning of the step 2, the innovative procurement that Francesco will explain. But this procedure that we're doing right now is also to complete step 1. That means that according to whatever external providers will tell us, we can, with that, obviously try to improve the challenge as it is and approach it to the market, let's say. Anyway, once defined and selected the various solutions, by the way, we will have 2 per city. They will be deployed, then studied, and then we will define how effective they are in carbon footprint, from a carbon footprint point of view. And then all this will be evaluated, also all the procedure. And then we will have leader cities supporting follower cities in helping them to mentor them and make sure that they can replicate what they did. And then everything starts all over again. Now we have here the website, the social media in which we are. Then feel free to visit them, where you can find many other information. For now, thank you very much, and I leave the floor to the friends in Differdange and Francesco that will help you in doing what is the most important today. Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo. So I'll take over from you now. Okay, I just here. And presentation. Okay. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so you want to start?
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, everyone that is in Differdange. Thanks, Stefano Beni. It's our engineer that is a specialist with energy here in Differdange. So it's really nice that you're here also. And thank everyone that it's everywhere around Europe. We are here to present the Differdange challenge. So Matteo just explained the whole project. And now we're going to talk about Differdange. Differdange is one of the leader cities of the project. And Differdange is also the only city in Luxembourg. And we represent Luxembourg, and we're really interested in working with players in Luxembourg, in the greater region, but also all over Europe. And we hope that you can give us also your input, so this challenge becomes even more interesting for the city. So we decided to entitle the challenge Road to Carbon Neutrality, Engaging Differdange's Population and Private Sector in Renewable Energy Transition. I think that the title says a lot, and we are gonna first give you a context about why this challenge, and then we're gonna talk about the challenge in itself. So, Differdange.
Okay, sorry. So I'll tell you a little bit about where Differdange is located and the historic heritage of Differdange, because not everyone may know where Differdange is or what it is exactly. So Differdange is a city in the south of Luxembourg, particularly in the Minette, which is the industrial part or the part of Luxembourg where the industrial revolution happened about 150 years ago. So there's a strong industrial heritage to the city. And we still see today, like the room where we are currently having our presentation is an old workshop of the steel factory in Differdange. The steel factory is also still working. It's now run by ArcelorMittal, just right next to our workshop here. So due to this industrial heritage of the city, it attracted a lot of people from all around Europe and currently also all around the world. That's why in Differdange we are currently 180 nationalities call it their home. And yeah, so well, for Luxembourgish sizes, Differdange is the third biggest city in Luxembourg, but from the global scale, it's rather small. But yeah, for Luxembourg, it's one of the biggest ones with 30,000 inhabitants and nearly, about 11,000 households. Our project in Kleinmachbauer is concentrating on energy solutions, especially with the private sector. And so we just give you, we thought to give you some numbers about energy consumption in Differdange. That's so the energy consumption around the households is about 20,000 megawatt hours. It will increase about over the next years due to more electrification on the side. So we expect to about double it or even more. And we need to prepare for it. And the best would be that we already prepared renewable and also on the territory of Differdange to be as autonomous as possible. Currently, we already have on the Differdange territory about 9,600 megawatt hours in renewables that are being produced, and that's actually a lot. So nearly half our energy consumption of the households of the city we currently have, and yeah, but we still need to work on it. And if you see outside, you don't see that many roofs that have photovoltaic on it. So you see there's still some potential there. There's still some new projects possible to invest in. Then Differdange is currently the only city, the only mission city targeting climate neutrality, net climate neutrality by 2030 in the Net Zero Cities project that we also signed the first part of our climate city contract beginning of the year, where we put in our targets, and one of the targets in which our challenging climate ball will also work on is to be 100% locally and sustainable, to have 100% locally and sustainable energy by 2030 in Differdange. This number is excluding actually the industrial energy needs, as steel production needs a lot of energy, and we are currently keeping it open for that regard. But we are looking to have 100% locally and sustainable energy for our households, for the local smaller commerces, for non-ETS industries. So if you see, you can see the map of Differdange on the right side, and there you can actually see that about half of the territory is forest and green area and agricultural territory. And for the rest, like the city area, you see that there's about 1/3 that is being taken up by the industry on the right side. That's why our project is also focusing on industries, as they are a big part of our city and our heritage, and we want to cooperate with them. So that's why we identified 2 problems. The first problem that we want to be worked on is that we currently have data on energy. It's currently unstructured, and we are it's currently we currently have unstructured available data on energy, and we currently cannot be assured that there are no data collection gaps. So that's something we want to work on. We also currently don't have a data visualization tool. That's so also to it's also one cause why our planification phase is currently slower than it could be. So what we expect from our solution in that regard is that the data we currently have is being structured, and also that we collect as much data that is possible to fasten up our planification phase, so that we can have simulations on our project and directly go with our project to the industries, to business partners, to actually to work fast with them, to actually have numbers that are reliable. That's something we need. And also analysis tools for the renewable energy potential in Differdange, to see where are investing potentials. Yeah, so the next part will be done by Diego.
Thanks, Luke. So I'm going to talk about the other problem or problems that we identified. And that first, we identified this lack of insight into the local private sector. As Luke said, the local private sector, especially the big industry, takes up 1/3 of the built territory of the city. It's also a very important player in the city for a century. Differdange is not a post-industrial city. Differdange is a post-industrial and an industrial city at the same time. And we think it was about time that to understand a bit more how this sector plays a role in the city and how the sector interacts with the citizens, decision makers, and other stakeholders in Differdange. So to understand a bit more, what are the energy needs of the sector, what are the business opportunities for the sector, and also how the sector sees corporate environmental sustainability, would really help for the city to be more of a moderator between the sector and citizens, and also to understand a bit what is the role or what is the potential of the sector if we want to reach carbon neutrality by 2030, with renewable energy being one of the big investments and priorities. And then second, there's also the need of involving the local residents. As Luke said, we have 180 nationalities in Luxembourg. In Differdange, that's not something unusual in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a country of transborder workers, of migrants, of this mixture, and it's growing even more. Differdange is going to at some point reach 30,000 inhabitants. There's people coming and going, and I think it's really important a solution to include people that have been here for 20 years and are not aware of what's happening regarding opportunities or regarding legislation on renewable energy, or people that are passing by and also are interested to engage with these topics, which are topics that are really big on the agenda all over Europe. There's also the question of the socioeconomic situation in Differdange, which is different from the situation, for example, in the capital. We are 15 minutes by, well, 20 minutes by car, 40 minutes by bus from the capital, but still there's a huge difference between how to approach people in this both in Differdange, and regarding multilingualism. So how we don't let anyone behind regarding language, how we include people that usually have way more in their way more urgent matters, but also to show them that these opportunities and renewable energy can be something that would help the economy of the household, or would also in a way create the sense of community. So I think these two problems ask for some solutions, such as the development of this involvement between the citizens and the private sector, based on data that the first problem addresses. Stimulate climate responsible behaviors. I think behavioral change is always something that comes to mind when we're talking about the environment, because sometimes people, they still think that it's too expensive, or I have other things to worry about, and it's not that important. But I think that every summer we see that climate change is there. It's making our cities warmer. It's making our life harder, and also it's something important for the next generations. So that's also something important to understand a bit how to change behavior. And then closing the gap, this gap that we see that exists between the industry in Differdange and the residents with solutions based on transparency and communication. I think that there's still this feeling that the industry here is kind of this, it's not accessible. And I think that this is something that should, we think that this is something that should change. People should see the industry as an active player in the city. Not only people that work in the industry, but also people that live here and see this. Is the first thing you see when you enter the city, and you're reminded all the time that the industry is there. But what is this industry doing? How can we and how can this industry in a way be more open towards the citizens of the city, with the municipality again being a moderator. We don't want the municipality to be the responsible for all of these projects and innovations. We want the sustainable self-driven project. So this could be this could take form in different ways. From a communication campaign to a more citizens participation, to, I don't know, organizing visits or something. I'm just mentioning some ideas, but that the municipality can of course help with communicating, with giving visibility to the initiative, but that this would sustain itself without the need for the municipality to actually manage it throughout time. And then, should I continue? Yeah, and then we just have a last slide that I think it's a slide that explains a bit the characteristics of the solutions in general terms. As we know, we are here in this preliminary market consultation, so we expect you also to give us your inputs based on the problems and the characteristics of each solution. We have this form that can be filled. I think that the deadline was the 31st of July, but if I'm not mistaken, Matteo, this deadline is going to be postponed to August. Are you there, Matteo?
I'm coming. Sorry, the time to unmute myself. This is not sure yet. We will define this by the end of, as everything will depend also how many proposals we receive. Probably.
So for the moment, the 31st of July is the deadline, and we have this form where you can give us your input, so we can design this calls for proposals in a way that takes into account what's available in the market. And then the call for proposal is gonna be published, the first one, because this project also has 2 calls for proposals. And I think this slide is important because it shows a bit, so a social technical system to enhance engagement with energy data, increase the leverage and credibility for promoting renewable energy to industry stakeholders, which means data visualization solutions, data collecting and identifying gaps in data, so everything connected to data. Also future simulations, so in a way, if you have a solution that can also show us, you should prioritize this aspect of renewable energy and not this other one, because you can compare the developments in the next years and simulate a bit what decision making now would how it would affect the future. And then of course citizen engagement tools. that are more connected to the second problem, to this participation of citizens, and also this openness and transparency that is so needed from the big industry here in Differdange. We know that its solution won't cover everything. We will have, as I said, in this project, 2 call for proposals, but it's just a matter of we putting out there our needs and the market reacting. And when I say market, I say all kinds of stakeholders reacting to what we identified as needed. I think that's, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we are more than happy to take your questions, and also these are our emails. If you don't have, you can always also reach out by email. Yeah. Should we open for questions, Matteo?
Yes, absolutely. We should, whoever has questions to, by the way, thank you for the presentation. It was very nice and comprehensive, as you see. Does anyone has question? Maybe in the room too, because you have, I see some people there. And
yeah, so if you have questions in the room, you can just raise your hand.
On Zoom, I think we can see questions in the chat. You can write them in the chat if you have a question.
And if you are at home, you can just write in the chat.
I think, yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, does anyone here have a question?
Does anyone has a question?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I have 2 questions. The first one would be on the procurement side, on the organization. So as far as I understood, there's one form that we can fill until end of July to express what we could have and try to address those different points. This will help you draft the code, and this code will be published, I guess, and that's probably the question. What's next?
When?
When will it be published, and what is the expected deadline for submissions?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just one thing, Luke and Diego, on when someone talks in the room and it's not you, that you're close to the laptop, we don't hear very much.
Yeah, I'm gonna
just summarize quickly every time. If you can summarize quickly the question, this way we solve it.
So the question was that there was people were asking a rough schedule for the next months regarding the call for proposals, knowing that the 31st of July is the deadline for the forms for the preliminary market consultations. But when is the call going to be published? And I think Francesco will talk about that in the next presentation. Yeah. That was the question.
Yeah, I think that the question will be answered by Francesco later on. But yeah, the solutions form is mostly by the end of the month, and the tender is supposed to be published in September, mostly the end of the September. This is the schedule. But Francesco will show you a much more detailed presentation. Schedule later on in the next presentation and in a few minutes.
Yeah, we have a last presentation specifically about the tender. And also he's going to talk about, because it's not, for example, it's not a tender that is based in Luxembourg, it's based in Italy. So there are some particularities to this tender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The second question.
Maybe a second one then. So are you here looking for solutions or products already available on the market and to be used kind of as is? Or are you also looking for a base on which to build upon, and that these calls are here to also maybe build specific solutions? There is an experience, there is on the requirements and specifications that you have in the project. So, in short, is it something, are you looking for really just products already ready to use, or also solutions made to develop?
I think the solution, so the question was if our solution should be specific to our case, or should it be something that is already available on the market? If I understood correctly. So I think as far as I interpreted the project, it should be how to say should be able to be applied also to other cities who want to follow in our steps. So it should not be a solution that only works for Differdange, but a solution that works for all of the industrial cities, or 90% of the industrial cities in Luxembourg or in Europe. Yeah,
and I think also the level of development, right? That's what you focused. I think it wouldn't be a problem if it's a pilot project. I think it wouldn't be a problem if it's something that is part of a bigger of a bigger project that you are developing already, and then you see, okay, maybe we can use this specific aspect of this new technology or this new project to use it as a pilot in Differdange. We are not, no, on the contrary, I think that's innovation. That's something that we're more than welcome. Of course, we have limitations such as budget, time, because it's a project that is very time bound, but it's a European project. So I think there are some constraints, but if it fits the procurement call, I think it doesn't matter. It's the level of development of your technology.
Do you have someone in the chat? No. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So I think then Francesco can start his presentation.
Yeah, and then in the end, if there are questions, we can always take questions at the end.
Yeah. Francesco, are you ready?
Yes, I'm here. Should I share my screen, or you have the presentation in your...
No, you should share your screen. I don't have your presentation.
Okay. Okay, so I'm taking it.
Okay. Great.
Full screen. Okay, please tell me if you can see the slides moving back and forth. I think so, because I see the big picture from the room.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, Francesco. It's good.
Okay. So I will start. Good afternoon. My name is Francesco Molinari. I am here on behalf of ANCI Toscana, like Matteo before me. ANCI Toscana is the coordinator of the Climaboro project, which is the project providing the framework and also the budget for the experimentation of this procedure. The objectives of the Climaboro project were already explained by Matteo, and I thank Luke and Diego for introducing us to the challenge of the city of Differdange. There was a question, if I understood correctly, on the kind of solutions we are looking for in order to fulfill the challenge from the city of Differdange. And the answer is in this first paragraph. We are open to both solutions that are already in the market. So in terms of technology readiness level, TRL, they score 9. 9 is the maximum of this scale of values for the definition of how mature or close to the market a technological solution is. But we are also open to prototypes resulting, for example, from previous activities of research and innovation, which haven't yet reached the market. And we are pretty sure that prototypes like these do exist in the state of the art. The problem is that it's quite difficult for us to identify where they are. And this is one of the reasons for this event of today, which is not a normal workshop, a conventional workshop, but is part of a formal procedure aiming at the identification of existing solutions, I repeat, either in the form of prototypes or already established as products or services in the market, which can help narrow down to some extent the very big breadth of the challenge proposed by our colleagues and friends, Luke and Diego, who spoke very broadly about the ambition of this challenge, but soon or late, there will be a time when we will have to face reality, and reality is especially concerned with money. And so for the call for tender, we are getting ready to prepare. There will be a maximum budget a bit lower than 300,000 euros, which will be divided in two, which is also good news for you, because there will not be one single winner for this call, but there will be two distinct winners. So the first and the second applicant in the ranking will be awarded. But in any case, the bad news is that this is not big money. So we have, on the one hand, the broad challenge from the city of Differdange, and on the other hand, this budget, which recommends narrowing down the focus and the interest of these proposals to a more manageable size. The call in question will be published by us, ANCI Toscana, towards the end of the year, towards the end of September, with a deadline for presentation of applications until the end of the year or even later. Participants can be individuals or consortia. We are open to the participation of practically any kind of economic operator in order to facilitate this participation. There will be very loose criteria. Normally, you know that in the public procurement, there is this custom of putting a set of barriers to participation. So only enterprises or institutions with significant turnovers in similar jobs are normally accepted to present a bid, not to be awarded, just to present the bid. This is not what we are going to do. We will be very open to identifying proposals coming from any kind of entity, business or not-for-profit entity, either single participants or consortia. And we will do all that is needed to protect and preserve the intellectual property rights resulting from, for example, from past patenting activity. And we will also define a special agreement for the management of the property rights after the deployment of the solution, as we are not aiming at a business exploitation after the deployment of the solution. We will try our best to promote the future business prospects of those who are successful in our call. And I will be back on this in my next slide. The call does not only involve the city of Differdange. There are 7 more European cities, most of which have already organized an event like this during the month of July this year. The good news is that we are recording the session today. We have recorded all the sessions of all the previous preliminary market consultations. So you can simply go to our website, clamavoro.eu, if you are interested in knowing more about the challenges of other cities. And let me say that some of you being interested, I hope so, to participate in the call for tender for the city of Differdange, you may also be interested in reading the challenge or listening to the recording of the challenge presentation, for example, from the city of Grenoble. We are very open to the nature of these solutions. You have listened to Luke and Diego. They were presenting the challenge in a very broad terms, and we are indeed open to many possible interpretations of the way this challenge may be fulfilled by existing solutions or newly developed and deployed solutions. However, there are some obvious limitations which I have tried to summarize in this slide. Some of these limitations are more opportunities than constraints, but let me list them in the order they appear on this slide. The first limitation is that we are looking forward to receiving proposals which are connected to the perimeter defined, actually very broad perimeter, by the descriptions we have just heard from the representatives of the city of Differdange. So please stay in topic, don't go out of topic, but the topic is broad enough to be tackled from different angles, from different perspectives. The second limitation or opportunity is that we are looking for a combination of technologies and human aspects. Human aspects means for us behavioral aspects, and especially changes in existing behaviors, having in mind the big challenge constituted by climate neutrality in cities, which is a dream at the moment more than a challenge, but exactly for this reason, it is something that desperately needs for the diffused compliance of all or almost all the members of a certain population, including urban population. So it would be attractive, but also it will be explained in the call for tender that it wouldn't be sufficiently convincing a proposal dealing with one or more than the unsolved issues described earlier only from a technological point of view. This is the database, this is the collection of APIs, this is the system to gather information or elaborate visuals from the existing data. Something that is technology only wouldn't be attractive enough in our perspective to deserve being awarded. So let's be creative in thinking of ways to involve people in the definition of the solutions we are looking for. Third element is budget. I already mentioned the limits given by the maximum cost for the solution in question. This, of course, suggests, again, from another point of view, to narrow down the scale of implementation. Both Luke and Diego only spoke about the city of Differdange. It couldn't be different than that. But if I were you, I would start making questions to them already in regard to the possible ways of downsizing the complexity. So, for example, limiting the experimentation to a single neighborhood of the city or specific categories of data. Which categories? What is priority from the point of view of the city of Differdange? Which categories of data? What are the data sets which are already existing, although incomplete, which might be completed thanks to this project, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, what we would like to receive is a proposal with traits of scalability. Scalability starting already from the situation handled within the borders of the city of Differdange. This because you may have gathered from the words of Luke and Diego, the city of Differdange is ready to set aside additional budgets in case the experimentation in the small scale works well, to make it bigger and ultimately deployed at broad city level. This is what we mean by scalability. And then we are also looking for solutions that are transferable. I already mentioned the challenge of the city of Grenoble, but there may be other challenges already in the group of 8, which propose to handle similar issues in different, maybe, application domains. 3 cities in our group, Torino, Cascais, and Maribor, they all speak about a specific vertical domain, which is waste management, waste differentiation, but they also think in terms of data collection and the use of data to guide behaviors. In the city of Ioannina in Greece, there is a similar view, but the vertical domain is completely different. They are trying to gather information on the carbon footprint of tourists and people residing in a small island within a lake, which falls within the perimeter of the city of Ioannina. You see, the vertical domains are different, but the conceptual aspects may be similar, and there will be no constraint to individuals or consortia willing to participate in more than just one lot of this call for tender. The call for tender will have 8 lots, 1 per city. Each lot will have 2 winners. It can happen that different lots in different cities can be won by the same organization. This is one way of reading transferability. Another way of reading transferability, we are only experimenting in 8 cities, but the chances are pretty high that the way the challenges are described by the representatives of these 8 cities is common to other cities, not in the panel at the moment. For example, in the city of Sofia, the challenge to be tackled has to do with the fact that in the center of the city, there are so few parking spaces that cars spend a lot of time looking for an empty parking space. And this creates a cloud of pollution, which they would like to handle in many ways, including through smart solutions dealing with information on what to do in at least during the peak hours in a situation like this, if we were driving our car downtown. Today, we will have plenty of time, I think until 5:30, to discuss further on the city challenge. I cordially invite you all to make questions, but not only questions, also proposals for possible solutions. This because the breadth of the challenge is so wide that we would be glad to hear that someone else has already started for such a big breadth of a challenge and managed to downsize it up to the level of identifying one or more effective solutions in the small scale. This is perfectly legal. I have another slide with all the legal references to show you, but one of the reasons why this is legal is that the call for tender doesn't exist yet. We are here today in listening mode, learning from what you will be telling us, but also ready to stick to our own beliefs, and so not consider, at least not fully, the suggestions we will receive. In addition, the entire session today is recorded, and the proceedings will be published on the website dedicated to this event within the big website clanaboro.eu. This is a way to ensure transparency not only for the people seated in this room today, but also for the people who may have missed the opportunity and want to catch up for the time being. And then, as it was already mentioned, I will be happy to receive written proposals. Written proposals because, you know, words fly, but written proposals are always more instructive and helpful than words. There is a template you can download from the website of this consultation, and you can use this template to send us some suggestions on how to handle the challenge. We will publish the received contributions on our website unless you deny the permission to publish for well-motivated reasons. For example, because there is a patent process ongoing, and you know that if there is a patenting process ongoing, it is better not to disclose anything publicly because this might jeopardize the positive outcome of the patenting process. The deadline of the end of July is functional to preparing the text of the call for tender until the end of until the end of September. We will only have a couple of months, including the holidays, so it would be better not to postpone. If there is a postponement, it will be a technical postponement or tactical postponement only of a few days more, but no more than that, because we need to have the full picture in front of our eyes as soon as possible, and time enough to read, understand, do further search in the state of the art, and finally land into this call for tender, which should be approved by the consortium. In the next consortium meeting, the plenary meeting will take place in Cascais on the 20th, 21st of September, so there is no much time left before landing into a fully built call for tender. We will allow, like I said, sufficient time to prepare the proposals, and the expectation is to sign the 16 procurement contracts until June next year, with also an advance payment to be foreseen in terms of amount, but which we will be happy to allow, considering that some of the projects at least may have to buy, for example, some hardware or sensors in advance, and the price of the contract will be all included. It will not be a research project, this one, but a real call for tender, so price against delivery. Nevertheless, we will try to make room for a small advance payment to help the participants needing to buy some infrastructure in advance. As I told you, it's all legal. The framework for this procedure is given by the Public Procurement Directive number 24 of 2014, which was approved by the European Parliament and then adopted by all member states, including Luxembourg, including Italy. And the instrument selected for the procurement is named Innovation Partnership. I will explain to you later the reason why we chose it. It will be a single call for tender managed by ANCI Toscana on behalf of the 8 cities, according to the procurement directive again, but also according to the Clamaboro grant agreement with the European Commission, which was signed by all cities and by ANCI. This preliminary market consultation rests under the provisions of another article of the procurement directive. For those who are curious, you can simply go and read these references, or you can find additional information in the questions and answers page we have built, again, on the Clamaboro website. You can also make your own questions in writing. We will be happy to reply to you in private and then publish the question and the answer anonymously on the FAQ page. This event was announced on the so-called TED portal. TED is the online version of the official gazette of the European Union dedicated to public procurement calls. Here is the URL. When the call for tender is published, there will be another URL on TED. TED, as you can imagine, is read by thousands of readers every day. So we hope that our call will receive enough publicity for the time being. So where do we stand now? We have listened to the big picture first, the priorities of climate policy in the city of Differdange. This is the state-of-the-art analysis. And we have listened to an outline of the challenge, which was described in very broad terms, which is good at this stage. But now we need to narrow this down, identifying some specific aspects of the challenge which will be described in the call for tender, especially in terms of features and constraints, as I was trying to explain earlier in my speech. The focal points we might want to discuss about in more detail are at least threefold: data, people, and technologies. As far as data is concerned, I think a number of questions for my colleagues and friends from the city of Differdange would be about identifying more specifically the data sets they have in mind, either existing or new data sets, and the sources where these data sets can be taken from, either from scratch or by borrowing them because they are already in the state of the art. Another question might be in which platform or platforms these data sets are stored or will be stored, and if the platforms have the nature of open or closed platforms. But there can be other questions, and I would cordially invite you to make these questions later in the remaining part of today's event. And then about people, I mentioned the nature of socio-technical solutions for the best examples we would like to buy. And the questions there are, of course, related to the roles that citizens, or more generally, other stakeholders from the city, or even from outside the city, might or should play in order to contribute to finalizing the results which we expect to obtain by this call for tender. And so identifying the size, the location, the roles of the members of these communities would be helpful not only to clarify which role people might or should play, but also once more to downsize the dimension of the experiment, which should be funded by this about 150,000 euros VAT excluded. And finally, we have the technologies. The technologies are not only those related to data gathering or data visualization, but more generally, we could think of technology families like the so-called climate services, which are basically decision support systems promoting informed decisions, not only by public decision makers, but also business decision makers and even normal people, lay people, through the visualization of information resulting from aggregations and visualizations of data. And then we have citizen science, where the citizens themselves are engaged in the procurement of data, which may be part of the solution. And then we have gamification, a collection of techniques more than technologies that promote the engagement and the persistence of engagement in people, normal people, lay people, in several different domains. And then there can be issues related to the interoperability of any technological solution which is proposed by the participants in the call for tender with the existing solutions already operating at the city of Differdange. This would be another question from my side, getting a description of those existing systems, ERP systems, visualization systems, or simply databases, trying to understand the complementarities, but also the interoperability elements with the newly produced solutions we are looking for. And finally, there should be an overview of legal and ethical aspects related to the newly introduced technologies. On the one hand, it is obviously a mandatory requirement for any solution to comply with the existing legislation and the regulations, and especially to protect the privacy of participants when personal data is being collected or exchanged. But there is also this nice sandbox concept which will be featured in the call for tender, meaning that the city of Differdange is willing to discuss if certain provisions of existing regulations should be lifted temporarily during the phase of experimentation in order to allow the results to be more easily or more promptly obtained, or if there are more generally impediments, for example, to the scalability of solutions which might already be known and so might be suggested upfront by the participants in the call. I am coming to the end of my talk. As promised, I would like to use this slide to explain why we chose, among the many possible instruments for procurement, this innovation partnership instrument. This slide, you should read it from left to right. In blue, on the left-hand side of the slide, you have a situation which can materialize, let's say, at the end of December this year, when the call expires. We will have a certain number of bidders presenting their proposals to compete with each other. In the normal situation of a generic call for tender, each bidder should prepare by the deadline a technical bid accompanied by a financial offer, the price for the delivery of that certain solution. This is not what will happen in this case. What will happen in this case is that we will only receive a description of a technical proposal. In practice, you will read in the call for tender an evolved description of the challenge you have heard before, and we will ask you, this time as an obligation, if you want to participate in this call for tender, to send us a description of the possible way of tackling the challenge, solving the problem or some of the problems presented in the challenge itself. but without specifying a price, only the characteristics of the proposed solution. Then what we will do is to open a round of bilateral negotiations. This means private meetings, confidential meetings, one by one, between us and each of the bidders. And during these negotiation meetings, we will make suggestions to you on how to improve the quality of received proposal, making it more competitive, but also suggestions to drop certain aspects or discard certain aspects of the proposal as originally submitted, which are not of interest for us because they are out of the focus, totally or in part, which we would like to keep in the management of this call. The negotiations will end as soon as every participant, every bidder has had this opportunity and time enough to reflect on whether to make the proposed changes or not. Once the negotiation is closed, every participant will have to resubmit the same proposal or a different proposal, this time accompanied by a financial offer, the price. And so we will start at that time the evaluation, and the evaluation will take place according to the normal criteria of public procurement, notably what is known as MEET principle, standing for the most economically advantageous tender, or in simpler terms, the best quality versus price ratio. Bearing in mind that we will award not only one, but two proposals, so the first and the second in the quality versus price ratio based ranking will be awarded by us with the amount of money you will have put in your financial offer. I already spoke about the remaining cities. Differdange belongs to the same hub with the cities of Sofia, Grenoble, and Athens. And there are 4 more cities, of which only Maribor in 2 days will celebrate their own preliminary market consultation. So if you are interested, you may attend that consultation in 2 days from now. The other ones, I think they are all already online with all the recordings on the Clemaboro website. I am done. I remain open to your questions, and I cordially invite you to send us any kind of input to our website or directly to our colleagues from the city of Differdange. Thank you.
Now I unmuted. So thank you, Francesco, for your presentation. So does anyone have a question about the presentation of Francesco, about procurement, about the procedure? No, no further questions. Is anyone in the chat who has a question?
The chat is fine.
No, I don't see any question.
Yeah, I think one thing that we'll do is that we will send everyone that is present the link to the form, because it was a lot of information and maybe you didn't see the link to the form. So this form can be filled and sent until the 31st of July with solutions for the problem. And as Francesco said, this is an open call for 8 cities, and people and stakeholders in Luxembourg can participate also in the challenges for other cities, which is, I think it's also very interesting. And you can also check, of course, you can check the presentation, but also in the website of Camaboro, you have the details about all the cities' challenges. So I think that's very interesting also for people present here. Yeah, I think we don't have any more questions here in Luxembourg, Matteo.
Okay. Okay, do you hear me? Yeah. Okay. I don't know, maybe it's worth that we explain a bit. Francesco already did some. In some cases, he just anticipated it a bit. Can maybe talk about, if you want, the challenges of the other cities, places a bit more in depth, because we are very in advance with the time. Then we can do so. Is it okay? I mean, if there is an interest in the room, mostly, I would say, because online we don't really, we have.
So yeah, but I don't know. I mean,
I
don't know. I think maybe we should ask you. Are you okay with the information, or you still like to hear more from the other cities' challenges? I mean, Differdange is a small city, so of course, in other cities there were way more people present. But I think we have some different representatives from different stakeholders. So I think it was interesting. Anyone has any? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to give us more details.
Okay. Okay. You don't worry. I mean, it's not a competition on who has more.
No, it's just a matter of Differdange being a smaller city. I mean, of course.
Yeah, but don't worry. I mean, this is something that we all know. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you see my screen. Do you see?
It's currently loading.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah.
Now, again, hello everyone. Also, as anticipated by Francesco, but let's show you a bit in depth. This will also allow maybe you to understand a bit more. Also, Differdange itself, looking on the others. I mean, as I said at the beginning, we divided the let's say the challenges in two, and we have on one side the energy and mobility part, in which we have Differdange, but they are, I mean, Differdange is with Sofia, Grenoble, Alpes Métropole. In Grenoble, it's the urban agglomeration, it's not the city itself. And Athens, as obviously as the friends of Differdange said, it's actually, yeah, you are a bit outnumbered in the sense that you have two big cities with you, but somehow this doesn't change much in the sense that we have the Sofia challenge that we see it's really a bit different by yours, and somehow Grenoble has some points of contact with you. On the other side, not. But with Athens, you have a real there is a lot in common, even if you have very different sizes. Now, starting with Sofia. Sofia is really mobility oriented. That's what makes them a bit different by the others that we have in this project, at least for now. Their main issue is the usual issue of a lot of European cities, in particular the big ones, the capital cities. They have too many cars, they have too much traffic. And today they use the car mode share in a city of more than 1 million people is 40%. It's very high. They want to reduce it to 20% in a few years, which is quite ambitious. And what they identified as main potential solution is to reduce the occupancy rate in the parking, and mostly in what we call the hypercenter, really the heart of Sofia. Then obviously if it works, they will be able to make this a bit more general. And their idea is they want at least 80 city blocks identified, and they want some solutions detecting who enters and who leaves the zone, to define the patterns, and to make sure that, and on the other side, to make sure that we know less or more how many parking spots are available, then allowing with data to support people to park their car, maybe use other mobility solutions. Now, you know this one, you just heard about it. And then going to Athens, that is a bit different it's quite the most similar to me to Differdange. Athens has an issue about the use of energy, also for private reasons, as it happens to you. And they're trying, and they would like to improve the citizens' behavior, mostly in energy. There's also mobility, but then at the end, the most important seems to become the energy one, in particular use of energy, increasing also in private households or for private use. Then they want mostly to have this awareness raising and exchange with citizens, then somehow improve and foster active citizenship at a local level. And according to this, they identified particularly mobile applications. The solution is a bit different by the one that Differdange is seeing, or at least for half of it. And then the most important is really to define a local citizenship that can support then behaviors or IT heart, as it happens in Differdange. Now, similar in Grenoble, but in that case, the problem is a bit different, in the sense that their biggest problem are soils. They have the soils artificialization that is too high, is less or more, is high everywhere, let's say right now, but in Grenoble they have twice the problem. I mean, the artificialization is double that in other places. And if I'm not wrong, it's about the alpine landscapes are having this. And then they need to model the 8 islands and the data. They need a strong data system allowing them to manage data and to improve and define models and scenarios. In this way, they can support also people to become more aware of the problem and the actions that they need to take to improve the situation. Now, if we move to on the other side, the one about waste and circularity, as Francesco said, we have 3 out of 4 of our cities that are Torino, Cascais, and Maribor that are very oriented to a similar situation, then or similar solutions. Then we have a 4th one that is a bit different, but because they have a particular characteristic that needs to be taken into account. Now, moving to Torino, Cascais, and Maribor, they want to improve waste, and they want to improve particular wastes. In some cases, it's bio-waste. In some cases, it's textile. In some cases, we are the electric and electronic waste and textile. Let's see a bit. Anyway, here we are really in a very, very similar situation. They all want strong data systems. They want data to support the waste management. But the biggest issue, in particular, at least in this case, is Turin. They want to work on electric, electronic, and textile, because today people are lacking using the full capacity. I mean, they don't separate waste properly. Now they need to understand why. They need to understand how they can improve everything. They need data to first define concretely the situation as it is, and then later on moving on and increase the awareness of people and citizens or all stakeholders all together. This is very important. In Cascais, they want to do the same thing, but it's mostly on textile. It's mostly on textile and not on everything else. I mean, on the electric and electronic, but somehow it's the same thing. And again, they want data systems to define and to identify all the waste streams. And they want also, obviously, to collaborate with the local stakeholders. In Maribor, again, same thing, but in this case, we have more a connection with the waste that is identified as more bio-waste, and then they want to improve recycling, reuse, everything. But again, we're again in a situation in which we have too many people not following instructions, not dividing the waste as they should, and then it's necessary to have digital solutions to improve this, and at the same time through data make people aware. And to conclude, we have this city of Ioannina. This is the most somehow out of the box maybe that we have in the project, because they have a lake and there is somehow a connection between the lake and the air pollution, because somehow the water evaporates and then becomes pollution. This is related mostly to small lakes, I mean, not very big lakes. And then what they want to do is to define again a data solution to better monitor the lake and understanding how to do that. And how to do that with the lake, it's also the wastewater. I mean, what kind of waste goes in water. And that's again, awareness, as it happens in less or more all our challenges, because we do have tourists, we have local population. Obviously, if people start throwing waste into the lake, this doesn't help. Okay, and this is I'd like to say that all our pilots are working with some authorities or other stakeholders supporting them in this. In this case, there is the Lake Authority. In the other waste, we have all the waste companies, I mean, the utilities that are about waste, as everyone else in Differdange. And it's always let's say that the bodies that are more related to the problem are always involved. That's on. Now, as you see, we're almost done with all our preliminary market consultations, but if some of you are interested, on Wednesday, we still have the last one in Maribor. Thank you.
Thank you, Matteo, for the presentation of the other projects. Does anyone have a question about the project of the other cities? Here in the room, no one has a question. Is anyone in the Zoom call who has a question? It doesn't seem so. Okay. Yeah, anything to add?
Not from me. Francesco, do you have anything that you want to add, as you are the king of the procurement process?
No, I think what I had to say, I said.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for everyone that's connected. We will send you once again the link to the forms, and the deadline is the 31st of July, which is in 2 weeks. So feel free also to ask questions, further questions, and send us, Luke or I, questions. If you have doubts, we are available. It's July, but we are not on vacation, at least not on the same time. So we are available. And we'll keep each other posted on the project, also in the whole Net Zero Cities initiatives in Differdange. I think that's probably a lot happening in the next years, and especially on the next 2 years. Yeah, thank you for coming. And thank you everyone that is connected.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for participating. Thank you to Diego and Luc for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.